What it do? It's your boy Top Media TV coming back at y'all with another video, y'all. Make sure y'all don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. So this is the story of Bruce Richardson, a legendary dope dealer out of LA, one of the biggest dope dealers out of LA. Somebody else who also was a black belt in karate. You know, this the same dude that y'all hear, who allegedly knocked out Suge Knight, Big U, and Bun Tree. Probably lots more, but this dude was out of LA. We're gonna get right into his story. So Bruce Richardson grew up on 65th Street in LA. He grew up around the Crips and the Bloods, and even though he didn't join the gang, he was respected by everybody. He was loved by everybody, and actually he had relationships with the Crips and the Bloods. Bruce Richardson would grow up to be a very good fighter, and also he would become one of the biggest dope dealers and most successful dope dealers out of the West LA. Out of LA back in the 80s and the 90s before he got killed.
Ask me about Bruce one more time. Bruce Richardson.
Bruce Richardson to me was a dope boy. He's one of the most successful dope boys in the game at that time, like in that era. We went to high school together, and Bruce was a year or 2 years older than me. So when
Big U would also describe an altercation he had with Bruce, where Bruce had knocked him into the bushes. Whether he was knocked out or not, who's to say? But Bruce definitely put hands on Big U, and this was, I guess, when they was in high school together. Big U explains that Bruce had got on his ass because of a chick that Big U was dating at the time, and he just fired on Big U.
And Bruce walked up, and he like, man, woo, and he talking about the chick. But I ain't really tripping off what he's saying. Then he just fired on me. While I'm sitting on the wall, and I fall back in the bushes, and I get to kick, and I kick my way out the bushes. But his first L. No, it wasn't an L, because when we came out the bushes, we whooped everybody ass. I caught him around at the dean's office and wore that ass out. No, I never had a L. I'm sorry. Bruce, you gotta remember, Bruce studied under us. Bruce studied with us. I was already a black belt. Bruce was, I think, a green belt.
So that was Big U, who goes on to say that Bruce had punched him and knocked him out into the bushes. But of course, when Big U was asked if that was his first L, I don't know if it's his pride or he might be telling the truth. Big U said he had called him later after they got out the bushes, called him out the office, and he beat up Bruce, who's to say. But yeah, Bruce was definitely somebody who really had hands, and not just Big U, but also knocking out or putting hands on Bun Tree and Suge, whooping their butts. According to Keefe D, Keefe D would say that Suge Knight had allegedly did something to Bruce. So Bruce ended up putting hands on Suge Knight, and when Bun Tree jumped in, Bruce had whooped on Bun Tree too. And these two are two big dudes, you know, at that time. You know, this is a picture of both of them in 95. At the time, allegedly, that Bruce had put hands on them. And they're two big dudes, so this guy Bruce must be one hell of a monster.
I didn't really say they got knocked out. I said they got fucked up. By the dude, he knew karate and stuff. And he got on Suge, fucked Suge up. You know, the barber wasn't the first dude to whoop Suge ass. You know what I'm saying?
So tell me about that incident. What club? Okay, you said Bun Tree and Suge both got beat up by Bruce?
Dude was a bad motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? He whooped on Suge first, and Cuz went to help. Dude knew karate, man. You know what I'm saying? It's like I told my James, man. I ain't the baddest motherfucker. He ain't the baddest motherfucker. And your brother ain't the baddest motherfucker. Like Tyson ain't the baddest motherfucker no more. So always somebody gonna take your crown, dude.
So that was Keefe D explaining how Bruce had put hands on Bun Tree and Suge. I guess in a previous interview, he had mentioned that Bruce knocked him out, but now I guess he said that it wasn't the case. They didn't get knocked out. They just got hands put on them, or they got whooped on. Either way, these are two giants. So for them to get whooped on, you know, kind of shows you the kind of caliber Bruce is in his fighting ability. And it was said after this incident where Suge had hands put on him, this is what led to Bruce getting killed 2 months later, I think a month later, in suspicious circumstances, and we gonna go over that right now. So Bruce would confront Suge Knight at a club and put hands on him and beat him up because of a deal that Castro, Gaddafi, and Napoleon, who were the outlaws, who was Dramacido at the time, was signed to Bruce because they had did some stuff on All Eyes on Me. Suge did not pay Bruce for them being on the album, which made Bruce angry, being that Bruce was the one that was managing Dramacido, who later became known as the Outlaws. So Bruce had confronted Suge behind this very situation, and it's the reason why Bruce had put hands on him and Buntry. So, you know, this is a book that was written online called Labyrinth, which kind of goes into detail as to what happened to Bruce and what the situation was that made him do that, which goes on to say Bruce had gave his consent, and only if Suge had promised him to pay a percentage of the album All Eyes on Me. Suge refused, and he persuaded Dramacido to sign on with his company Death Row. And enraged, Richardson confronted Suge a short time later around a nightclub. Now hear this out, y'all. This is where it gets interesting, y'all, because this article, this book, actually says that Bruce had confronted Suge and astonished onlookers. So he made people that was in the club surprised when he was able to slap Suge around until 3 of his thugs had jumped in and drove Bruce off. So it goes on to say that he had slapped Suge around, which made people in the club like, damn, what's going on, Suge? The big bad dude getting slapped around, you know? And then 2 of his thugs had jumped in, well, 3 of his thugs had jumped in and drove Bruce away. So it doesn't mention a second person or Buntry getting beat up or whatever, but we don't know. This is just a book. Either way, it goes on to say, Suge made no secret of the fact that he wanted revenge. 2 weeks later, Bruce Richardson was shot to death in his home. Kevin Hackey, I guess somebody who was an off-duty cop who was around Death Row, had said Neckbone and Buntry was the likely hitmen. So he had said Buntry and Neckbone was the hitters who had got Bruce. Buntry allegedly being one of the dudes who had hands put on him, allegedly. So the main suspicious circumstances surrounding the death of Bruce would be how the killers had gained entry to his home. So the book goes on to say that Bruce had a house which was reinforced with steel doors and double dead bolt locks, heavy bars on the windows, and an elaborate alarm system. The evidence clearly indicated that Bruce had opened the door for his killers, engaging in a fiery battle with them only after they were inside the house. So as soon as they entered the home of Bruce, they got into an altercation immediately. No way would Richardson would have let a couple of Suge's thugs known into his living room. Other possibilities would be that around the time Bruce got killed, 3 Bloods had gained the entrance to the home of a drug dealer they robbed and shot by posing as Muslims, selling bean pies door to door. According to the Rolling 60 Crips, Tupac Shakur had phoned Bruce Richardson's father shortly after Bruce's murder. So this was the 60s, the Rolling 60s is saying that Tupac had called Bruce's father after Bruce got killed, saying he had nothing to do with it. Tupac hadn't been willing to say the same about Suge, however. So Tupac was cool, maybe with the 60s, and that's how the 60s maybe had found out that Tupac was trying to tell him, hey, I had nothing to do with this. Tupac would also make a call to Bruce's father. Seems that Tupac also knew who Bruce's father was. I mean, so the whole situation about Bruce getting killed would probably be down to Bruce, you know, confronting Suge and slapping him behind, and Napoleon, Castro, and, you know, Dramacido, the 3 individuals who was part of that rap group. This is before the Outlaws, before they joined the Outlaws and all of that. So they were still tied in with Bruce from 93, around the Thug Life era. And that's what made him mad when they appeared on the All Eyes on Me album, without getting paid by Suge, because y'all know they was on Tupac's double disc CD. So that's the reason why Bruce had confronted him, and I guess Bruce might have made the mistake of putting hands on the wrong dude, Suge and Bun Tree. But let me know what y'all think about this dude, Bruce, man. You know, a legendary black belt karate fighter. I mean, y'all heard Big U. This dude done whooped on Big U, whooped on Suge, whooped on Bun Tree. That's 3 individuals, man, that you probably would never want to come across in the streets, right? Face to face. I mean, they're big fighters, big dudes. Bun Tree, Suge, but this dude got the better of all of them. So this dude must have been one hell of a dude, man. But let me know what y'all think about the situation, about Bruce, about how he got killed suspiciously. Let me know what y'all think. Make sure y'all don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell, y'all. Peace.